Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today. As part of Perituza's Early Career Spotlight series, I am pleased to introduce my colleague Hashini.
Thank you for having me, Mesha.
Hashini originally joined Perituza as an IT intern 9 months ago, and after completing her internship, she joined us full-time. Now Hashini, even before you started with Perituza, you had a strong interest in front-end development.
I did. For that, I have to credit my web development class. Creating websites gave me the opportunity to work closely with aesthetic elements such as colors, fonts, and artwork. This process made me reminisce on the art classes I took when I was younger.
And what a great way to tie in your personal interest in art with the work that you are doing today. And we are excited to see where that interest has taken you.
Absolutely. What I prepared for today is a high-level overview of our Perituza Foundation page, which was one of my first projects.
Oh, I like this photo from King's Zone. These photos will bring back so many memories to our team members. But this page is much more than that. So, tell us what we are looking at here.
Let's start by looking at the desktop view. As you can see here, we have images from our past events, information about who we are, our mission, event recap videos, and a newsletter sign-up option. As I built the page, I used the 3 standard breakpoints, desktop, tablet, and mobile, which are part of our WordPress theme. Based on the screen size, the page content renders accordingly. Even though we are using the standard breakpoints, we've augmented them with media queries and custom CSS in order to accommodate other screen sizes.
And it all starts with the Visio wireframes, which are then translated into designs and then ultimately the page itself. So, can you walk us through that?
Of course, we use Figma as the design software for our company website. As you can see here, we have the designs for desktop, tablet, and mobile. Based on the page designs, I build the page structure by creating sections of content. Then I configured sections into configurable rows, columns, and modules. So, for example, this image slider is its own section. Also, this mission section is subdivided into 3 card modules, each with 2 rows, the top for the image and the bottom for the text.
So, you set up each of these sections based on the page design. But you had to build separate sections for desktop, tablet, and mobile, correct?
Yes, if the dimensions of the design components varied across breakpoints, I created additional sections for tablet and mobile. For example, in the mission section, you can see that the cards are largest on desktop, followed by tablet, and then mobile.
So, after you set up each section, how did you configure the content?
Yes, by going to blurb setting, I've set the width of each card based on the design. I've configured the image width as a percentage value, which is 100% in this case. However, here we are maintaining a fixed height. Now, there are some instances when our page components auto-resize based on certain plugin settings, such as our event recap pop-ups. In addition, I applied custom CSS styling in almost every section.
Can you walk us through an example of your custom CSS?
Yes, for example, in the image slider, I applied custom styling for the pagination bullets. I added color and a blur effect to the background and I changed the bullet colors.
Coming back to something you mentioned earlier, you referred to media queries.
In a nutshell, media queries define the page behavior on different screen sizes. In this particular media query, I've defined the page behavior for tablet mode. For desktop and mobile devices, I'm using the same classes but different stylings. For example, in this class, we are using a font size of 21 on desktop but a font size of 18 on mobile and tablet.
What's been eye-opening for me is the attention to detail as you build each component, and everything was brought together during the testing process.
Yes, I did a side-by-side comparison of the design with every component from margins to image sizes and font styles. Then I tested the page behavior on different browsers and devices in Browser Stack.
Once the testing was complete and the page went live, you must have felt so proud. And it sounds like we are just getting started on this page and there's so much more to come. Now, Hashini, as we wrap up here, can you share some words of wisdom for those starting their journey with web development?
As I mentioned earlier, Imesha, I studied art when I was younger. Being a perfectionist, I would redraw each element until I was completely satisfied. To be successful in web development, you have to take the same approach because the quality of your work directly affects your company reputation. To my fellow students, the work you deliver is a reflection of your personal brand. Be consistent, ask questions, and don't be afraid to face challenges head-on. As you build your brand, you will open up new opportunities for your career growth, and the possibilities will be endless.